A Fort Worth couple has admitted to a sweeping fraud that left more than 40 homeowners across North Texas with unfinished remodels and big losses. I'm Ahmed Humble, senior trending news reporter for Chron.com. Between 2020 and 2023, prosecutors say Christopher and Raquel Judge ran a construction business promising custom builds and renovations that never materialized. Christopher even falsely claimed he was a licensed architect to lure customers with low bids, then collected these payments while doing little to no work. Victims were left with partially damaged homes, financial hardships, and lawsuits. Both judges say they pleaded guilty, Christopher to conspiracy to commit wire fraud, which carries up to 20 years in federal prison, and Raquel to a related charge with a separate sentence range. Sentencing is scheduled in the spring of 2026.
Attention, player haters and overrated disbelievers of all kinds. I stand before you today 10 toes down as the bearer of bad news. Y'all done fucked up.
I said I'm never coming back again. Next I stepped away from the mirror. I got my mind made up now, cause I can see the future much clearer.
All right, what's happening? L.A.R. movement still moving. This was called scam fatigue. So, in lieu of the stuff that is going on with Somalians in Minnesota, and it's probably going to go to Ohio, but at the same time, and I've said this before, that a lot of these scams that people come from other countries to America with, they get them from white people. And people don't want to hear that. Part of the issue with, it's just not it's a racial thing, but a criminal thing is people talk about black on black crime and they were talking about black fatigue, but they never talk about all these scams. And people act like these scams don't count because nobody gets shot or something, right? So you got multiple couples who got screwed over for a fake construction company, basically, right? And the reason why, and the guy didn't have a license, he wasn't an architect or nothing like that. But the reason why they believe him because he's white, and the reason why he was able to go that far and steal all these people's money is because he's white, right? Which goes to another scam that's been going on where actual builders or people that are I would call it low, like they'll call them custom home builders, right? They have this tendency of getting some old black person who has a lot of land and then going to the what is it, county office or whatever, forging some documents and then building homes or a home to sell or to live in on somebody else's land, and then the old black person finds out later. And then they go, well, home's already here, so well, we can work something out, right? And then you have the lawyers and the judges like, well, he's white and he did it, and we don't want to let this white man just be homeless now. But if the shoe's on the other foot, they kick the black people out, and it'll be a free house for some white folks, right? So then you have other groups doing this type of stuff. Then you have the government scams. When you talk about Medicare fraud, Medicaid, those scams, and then you wind up catching usually like Hispanics and sometimes Asians doing it, but it's like you never catch the white folks, and it's like, well, how did they learn how to do this? Every blue moon you get a group of white people who got, because it gets extreme with them. Then you catch a ring of organ harvesting and stuff like that. But it started somewhere. It started with scams and fraud. And nobody really does anything about it. Let me go back a little bit to the home thing. When some of y'all play this game where, you're getting tax liens, some of those tax liens are old people that might be sick and they didn't pay their taxes because they were sick. Like they're old or they got dementia, they're old like that. And it's like, well, so what? I just kicked grandma out of her house. I just kicked granddad out of his house at 86. We're going to make some money on this flip. And the government never actually made a provision for situations like that. So that's how a lot of those tax liens come into play. It's not just people dying. Like sometimes people die and the family fights and they mess it all up. Or it's a person who's irresponsible inherits a home and they don't want it, so they don't take care of it. That happens too. But a lot of the times somebody's there and they're just old. That's what that is. Same way when you get those old people uh who are supposed to be nurses and they rob these old people blind. Same premise. There's no protection for that. It's a scam fatigue. But nobody cares, right? Everybody looks at it as it's a way to come up, you know. And then like I was talking, now I go back to the government thing. People defraud the government and it's okay. Like people talk about, when COVID happened, all the people that had the PPP loan scams, which was crazy. You bring up all the black people, but y'all got to remember, even the Los Angeles Lakers filed for a PPP loan. They took it back. I think Ruth Chris filed for it. It was some crazy businesses that had no business needing a PPP loan filing for them. And then they had multiple runs at it. So that goes into play, right? Because there are a lot of people who got away. And the reason I can say people got away because a lot of times, a lot of these scams just kind of go away. A lot of times these people don't go to jail. They just go home. Some of them get caught. They pay a little bit of restitution, probably a tenth of 10 to 20% of what they actually stole, and then hey, bye. That's how that goes. Let me when I say that, let me rewind the tape. Do y'all remember all of the charity scams? Because if you donate to charity, the charity only has to actually use 10% of the money you donate to them towards what they're saying that they're collecting money for. How many times you've seen that when people got caught up with those scams? There was a whole situation from Katrina, the Hurricane Katrina, with the Red Cross, to the other Red Cross scandal, to the scandal with the dude lost his mind. He was running up the street naked because he got caught. But but to this day they're still doing the charity hustle. Nobody's saying anything about it. It's still donate some money for these blah 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 blah. And then and since I'm going down that path, and part of this is a government scam too. Y'all like to talk political, but all of these we've the government has allocated $100 million to fight the war on lack of education, and $1 billion for a war on poverty. But the schools look the same, the neighborhoods look the same. They might have put a community center in there, and 9 times out of 10, the community center was actually paid for by some rich person that's from that neighborhood, and actually not the government. And then you have all of these other people who've been getting kickbacks off of millions of dollars, who don't live in these poor neighborhoods, in these areas, but somehow in the suburbs where they live at, a lot just happened. Same, nobody talks about that because it's like, hey, well, it's supposed to go to black people, so it doesn't count. And then then you have the gentrification scams, where people tell you, oh yeah, these people coming to gentrify the neighborhood, and it's like, wait a minute. So when a few people start moving in and say they want to move to a certain side of town, now the city got tax money to fix the roads, to fix the lights, to fix the buildings, and it's like, wait, time out. So where was all this money all these years that all these people had paid taxes in these neighborhoods? Where was it at? Oh well, we don't know. You know exactly where it was at. You know exactly what you were doing. Soon as you put up a Starbucks, now we can fix a road. Because if you go to the suburbs, they'll fix the same road 3 times in 5 years. The same exact road. You'd be like, what the fuck? Didn't they just? Yeah, I got to do it again. And they put up the sign. This road costs, first it was $1 million, then it was $3 million, then it was $5 million. Same exact road. And you're looking like, what? They ain't even do nothing. But people don't count that. To me, it's scam fatigue. But hey, when other people are doing it, it's a problem. We make the argument, the conversation. The black people actually started doing this stuff, it'd have been a problem. That's part of the, and I ain't saying this right. That's part of the whole Tiffany Henyard thing. Is there have been a few black people in positions, whether they've been at schools and government positions. They just decided to do the same thing the white people were doing, and they wind up being a national news story. That's literally what happened over and over again. So at the end of the day, man, nobody addresses the scams like that. But I just wanted to put that out there. Like, share, subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Peace.